I've just been listening to Daniel Tubenar talking about ideals. And algebraic geometry. And then I went to look at the interview with Edward Frankel on the Theories of Everything podcast and started watching that. And then I thought I'd start a blog post. So I started out with Daniel's really very good algebraic geometry series, which is now at 31 videos, and it gives you a really good overview of algebraic geometry. Oh, there it is. Schubert calculus. And that's the one I was looking at. And it's nice because without having to, I mean, I haven't written a thing, but you it's at such a level that you can really grasp what the connection is between algebraic varieties and level sets and differential equations and surfaces and manifolds. And so if I was going to go and do a course in algebraic geometry, I would at least know what it was about. And I started it because of the blog post I made yesterday, which was called Daniel Tubenar's Algebraic Geometry Syllabus. And I retitled his video, "What is Computer Algebra?" And I said, "What is Computer Algebra for?" And because that was a really amazing description of how you can use an algebraic equation to characterize a mechanical shape, and you can prove things about its rigidity just by looking at the kinds of equations that describe the shape. I mean, it's fantastic. You would think that to prove things about rigidity, you would need some kind of mechanical formalism, but the algebraic correspondence can somehow encode it because it's essentially geometrical. You're assuming that the parts don't bend, and you're assuming that you're making certain assumptions about angles. and the amazing thing is that algebra can capture enough of that to be able to tell you about the mechanical properties of a linkage. And so then I realized why algebraic geometry is interesting. And so I started watching the rest, and with that motivation, they all made a lot more sense. And then I went back and looked at Norman Wildberger's last two videos on the fundamental theorem of algebra and on negative numbers and arithmetic. And just this morning I was also playing around with something really odd is happening to my computer. I just pressed Control C to quit Dr. Racket, and it seems that what happened was I quit Firefox because Dr. Racket doesn't integrate properly with the window, I guess. And so I've no idea what happened there. This Linux desktop is just so broken. So I wrote some scheme code. I wrote a function called boxify an image, which takes a color and draws a border around the image, a rectangular border. And then I defined a successor function, which takes n, which is an image, and boxifies it with black. And then I defined, that's that. And then I defined a 0, which is the box of a unit, and a unit is just an empty white rectangle. So when I run it, I get a box. And the idea is to formalize the box arithmetic using Racket regex, the regex semantics and types checking. But you'll be able to do it with those box diagrams. So now hopefully we can get the browser back. But I think I've lost my place in these various videos, but never mind. And then I looked at Jade's video again about the shape of space. She's not talking about the shape of space, she's talking about the topology of space. The shape of space depends on the dark matter distribution and the distribution of galaxies and clusters and superclusters and whatnot. But it's all right. And I posted my investigations that I did for Jade. That is me talking about Lagrangian mechanics and how I think about physical experiments and causality. and that's an addendum to it, and that is a kind of debriefing after talking to Hugh Osborne. So that's not the that's all besides. So if I go back to this, then Edward Frankl mentions that when Langland's got his, then I realized that actually Edward Frankl wasn't talking about the ordinary Langland's program. He was talking about this analytic Langland's program that he kind of started. And he mentioned that Robert Langlands came up with the idea when he gave a talk after before receiving the Abel Prize in 2018. So I looked up that talk, and he mentions Frankl and Maths and Art, which is Frankl's previous book. And I thought that fits nicely because Toby is doing Maths and Art at the end there. And then so I started listening to this, and now what prompted me to start the video? I can't remember. They're talking about beauty in mathematics. And he said, Langland said there is a kind of structural beauty, but he was sort of talking about it as being something kind of stark and not even architectural, kind of mechanical. And I recall this experience that I had in Bolivia when it clicked that there was this absolutely unified structure to all of mathematics all at once. And that's what I rather, I gave the rather derogatory term, the view from the top of Shit Mountain. It really is incredibly beautiful. And I got there in Bolivia. I saw it all in a kind of mystical flash, and it was incredibly, incredibly beautiful. And the only kind of beauty, that kind of the kind of beauty that just absorbs you and makes you disappear. The only other time, the only beauty that I can compare it to is the kind of beauty you see in a woman's face. Sometimes. That's the kind of beauty that makes your pupils dilate, so you see halos around people. And yeah, I just wanted to say that about mathematical beauty. And this was actually going to be an unboxing video because I'm having so much trouble writing my PhD thesis that I thought I'd just buy Alan Turing's. And that's how it comes from Princeton University Press. They've got this arrangement via another kind of another book distributor who in turn works for Wiley and Sons. So this delivery was actually from Wiley. I haven't looked at it yet, but I think it's a hardback copy of the 2012 preprint and the 2012 facsimile reprint. And the reason that I particularly wanted to get it was to read Solomon Pfefferman's Solomon Pfefferman and somebody else have written an introduction. I came across Solomon Pfefferman first on the FOM list, Foundations of Mathematics list. He's a regular contributor to it. So here is, wrapped in just cardboard, Systems of Logic. That's right, Andrew Apple introduced and edited it, and it looks great. Hang on. So, King's College. Dear Mr. That I am accepted as a student at Princeton before I can be readmitted to the US. I should be grateful if you would send me such letters. It would be convenient if you would mention at the same time that I have been awarded a fellowship which will cover all expenses. This would save my obtaining any other evidence about finances. Yours sincerely, A.M. Turing. 24th of July 1937. Princeton University Graduate School. Received on August the 4th. So, paid for in Britain. Veblen was Church's supervisor. I suppose this is going to get copyrighted. Struck. Let's see how the reproduction is. It looks legible. Yeah, so there, I bought a PhD thesis instead of writing one. I might still try and write one. I found another beautiful piece of, another connection that a lot I can use to explain what's going on with my 1.5 pages. Talk by Vladimir Voevodsky at Princeton about consistency in formal logic. I don't really want a PhD. I'd rather collaborate with some friends on a uniformal catalogue of interesting stuff, including hop vibration, which Toby's into at the moment. And yeah. So the other reason I put this right at the top was so that Sophie McLean would see that this actually is analytic number theory. But we really haven't heard much about harmonic analysis from Edward. But I haven't finished the video yet. Where am I watching this? Oh, I lost my place. Oh, crumbs, it's rewound. It's rewound all the way down there. Thank you, Ubuntu.
Well, no, Sam is closer to Grothendieck. The division between Serre and Grothendieck is not that big. Grothendieck, Alexander Grothendieck, one of the most brilliant mathematicians of the 20th century, is someone who brought the ideas of sheaves and categories into mathematics, as well as others like Jean-Pierre Serre, who was his contemporary and still alive. Grothendieck died in 2014. But at the same time, you also had a development in parallel, which was kind of more concrete mathematics, where people did not work with categories or sheaves. They worked with representation theory proper, where you have bona fide functions and you have Hilbert spaces and you have operators, which, by the way, is much closer to physics, to quantum physics, because the kind of problems that people considered was actually very much influenced and inspired by developments in quantum physics.
So that is the other angle is the key part of the category theory that you need is just this comma category. That lies at the basis of the Grothendieck construction, and it's incredibly simple. It's something to do with a Cartesian closed category, which is basically lambda calculus. So Dana Scott's talk at the Lambda Conf, which he heard about from a Cambridge computational linguist who told him about it, and I wondered if it was a woman. I wondered if it was Anne or someone else. But anyway, there we go. That's today's video. What do you think, Edward?